somewhere. So we'll type in, what section of what act says, basically. And it gives me like citations to the whole municipal act, and I have to go, that's an outdated citation, please check again. And it goes, oh, you're right. There you go, right? So like, until it gets better, I wouldn't trust it with anything. I use it as a search engine, basically. Right? And even then I have to say, no, that's wrong. Right, and that's, yeah, that's one of my claims, like I can build those. Yeah.
Good to have planning, that's enough.
You worked at City of Copeland before you moved here?
Okay. How are we for tech? Yeah. Well, we are returning to our public meeting of council from recess in which we had a public hearing. And the bylaws from that public hearing are yet to appear right next on this agenda. But the next item is just a notice of motion, but that notice of motion will be applied to the bylaws along with any other amendments that we're proposing. So that's just on the agenda for notice. And now we've got the bylaws to consider, which are 10.1 and 10.2. I think we're free to discuss them together, or just like I think probably it makes most sense to discuss each of them, or to have a discussion first, and then consider them separately and with any applicable amendments that happen. So we have had a public hearing on this. We've had extensive public engagement, of course, for a long period of time now. I think Colton is still with us. Colton, are you there?
He's not on Zoom.
Okay.
Here we just came in.
But also, yeah, we've received a lot of written input for this public hearing, and then we just had other input as well in person and online. I think I would like to start off the discussion by addressing some of the items we've heard about, whether it be written in the past couple weeks or just this evening. We heard a lot about Heritage Hills, and I mean that's definitely the biggest concern. We heard both this evening and also in the written input. I do want to kind of go back a bit in this process for council and for the public as well, to just remind us of how we got to this place, which is that especially that view protection part of the presentation that Colton did, in bringing down the amount of sub-areas for view protection. I remember when we considered that as a council at the meeting, and he addressed it again today, which is that a lot of that was premised on the fact that zoning was coming down anyway, bringing heights down anyway, so that allowed us to decrease the amount of sub-areas for view protection. So, and at that time, we had a special area for Heritage Hills, which had the this is from staff, so I better check it. From the garden suites, the were lower. They were 4.5 meters instead of 6.5 meters. So our whole view protection approach was premised upon that. But then there were there was the other zoning that applied throughout the community to low density. Council determined that to be too high, at being 11 meters or three stories for single family homes. And we did get a lot of input from areas other than Heritage Hills saying that the zoning for our neighborhood is too high, whether that be we heard it from the North Fletcher area, we heard it from the Bluff, we heard it from even Upper Gibsons as well. So we responded to that and said, let's just put the Heritage Hills zoning throughout the entire town. But I think something that an oversight of that at that time was that then that brought down all the ancillary building heights to the 4.5. Which were really designed for Heritage Hills because of this view protection consideration. So then the ADP came to us and said, well, you've made a mistake here because all these second, two-story laneway suites that even we've been accepting in our town for years are now not possible anymore, like second stories on top of garages. So you need to bring that back up. So we brought it back up. But then in doing so, Heritage Hills is now affected in a way that I don't think we originally intended. I think the intention that was brought forward to us from the consultant was that because of the close, a lot of reasons, and council put out this direction right from the start, that we would need some special consideration for view protection in this area. So I do think that I just want to kind of put out that background. We can put forward a consideration, but for a new sub area. But I do want to check that out with the rest of council first. And so sure, let's address this first. There are a couple other considerations that are brought forward I'd like to comment on, but I think this is obviously the most common one that came up. So I'll go to Councillor Lumley to speak to this.
Yeah, I'd based on what I've heard and obviously the neighborhood, things that have affected them in the past. Doesn't really seem like a neighborhood that's, people are going to move in there and start building like two-story garage top carriage houses. So I totally support a view protection sub area in there. Like I agree with you. And I mean, you could it's kind of just like leave that neighborhood kind of as is, I would imagine, because from what I hear, most of the people that live there it's kind of a unique area, and any type of change, like especially like that, I think the rooftop or the garden suites that are so high are going to affect them. So I'd just say put it in a view protection area and go back. Yeah, I support that.
I mean, it is so built out as it is, and there are even like over time, when we had a close look at it, there are kind of a lot of non-conforming issues there too, where just nothing we can do about now, but lots are like, buildings are right up against the property line. Some are over 50% lot coverage. It's quite a dense area as it is, and I mean, as one person pointed out, there's a lot of secondary suites there. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Yeah, height matters, obviously, because this is closely connected to view protection. Many residents value and have communicated to us clearly this contributes to the character of Gibsons. So I support that. It's been a challenge, the height issues, particularly as it relates to Lower Gibsons, because it's just, you move one setback, you move a height, I feel like in trying to achieve mindful decision-making around, what's being required of us under Bill 44, I would like to and want to use as many areas that we can have some local influence. And, you know, so to be able to put in a view protection here, I think is wise.
Well,
Thank you, Mayor White. And a question that it was sort of burning with me as we were hearing the comments from the people in the audience, regardless of the written submissions we had, is I would have been curious to have asked how many people who spoke against the height and the view protection concerns would even consider building a second unit on their property. To your point, it is an old area of town. As someone mentioned, their house goes back to 1901. Surveys were not, the inaccuracy of lot lines and so on and so forth, I think would be very challenging for people to build in that area. I'm certainly, you know, in favor of, you know, saying the 4.5 meter is fine. I would almost even consider, you know, in that specific area that you just eliminate, because the possibility of building, you know, secondary suites, unless it's a total tear down and resurvey and, you know, starting from scratch, which is not likely going to happen in this market. So I'm certainly in support of the motion that's before us.
hey, Councillor Andretti.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it totally makes sense. I think when, at least for myself, when I voted on the laneway, I didn't realize the damage that I was doing. So I'm happy to support that. I have a question regarding what was the setback for garden suites before, the current ones?
In the garden suite zone,
Yeah,
for the rear lot setback, I assume.
Yeah, thank you. It's 1.5 meters from the lane.
Yeah, it's 1.5 currently.
No, currently on the proposed, I'm talking, on the proposed is 1.5.
Yeah,
I'm talking
And
about
currently
on
it
the
is, too.
current.
yeah.
In our current bylaw that's in effect, it's also 1.5 meters for garden suites from the rear lot line.
Okay, so will this eliminate 1.5 because this is,
No, this is bringing the height down. 1.5 is the
Oh, okay.
standard for
Is this-
laneway housing.
okay. My,
Kroll?
oh, sorry, I haven't,
You had
okay.
another?
Yeah, another question regarding
ahead.
that. I would like to bring this because I got actually a printout of roof pitches. And I don't know specifics, but when Judy mentioned about her roof pitch, that was really, she didn't even expect, but was within the bylaw, but really impacted neighbors. I wonder if there could be a consideration of maybe restriction on.
Sorry, excuse me, can I call a point of order, just because we're getting off? Could we maybe go to this motion and then we can go back to roof pitches, or?
Well, we're not actually considering this motion yet. When
No, okay,
When we
sorry.
put forward we're having a discussion about really the second dwellings in Heritage Hills.
Okay.
So,
So Mayor,
go ahead.
thank you very much. And I think since we will be, there is a support for a sub-area, I wonder if staff could also consider a maximum roof pitch, because,
do you have some language for this? This is just coming on it's.
sorry, okay.
I mean, we
I'm
feel
not a
kind of ambushed,
planner.
I think, on behalf of council.
No,
Like, we
I'm not
need-
a planner,
Yeah.
but what I understood throughout this process is that depending on the pitch, it impact view. So I'm just, since staff will
got
consider.
From the consultant here.
Yeah, just trying to sort of tease that out a little bit. Councillor D'Andrade, are you looking for something that would reduce the massing of a second story? So you might still have the opportunity for a second story, but maybe it's only 75%, like tuck it in, as opposed to just having a single story?
I was really talking about the roof pitch, because it really increases without even people realizing, right? Because if you have a 12-12, for example, it becomes really high according, that's my understanding. I'm not a planner, but planning can, if they can clarify. But my understanding is depending on the pitch, the height of the roof goes really high.
I mean, the point is we're bringing it down from 6.5 to 4.5 here is the proposal. And I mean, I'll read that out. And I mean,
But I'm thinking, okay, my point is because we are going to do a sub area. So I'm happy I'm really glad we are looking at the setbacks. But I'm talking about overall, a roof pitch of a house would impact. So perhaps there could be a suggestion from planning that we could limit. And I'm not, obviously some pitch is important in this weather, but there's, for example, 12-12 is really.
okay, well, yeah.
And that's and I would like some feedback from planning.
I don't think
Because
this is the time to do it. We're looking at bylaws right now. Counselor Lumley?
Would the top of the pitch of the roof not be the height of the building? Would that, like for,
No.
it's the mid-pitch?
Yeah, that's the problem.
What if it's a flat roof?
Then
It's flat.
it is. So,
It's still mid. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
No,
Well,
but it's
I'm just-
7.5. But if you do, let's see, high beams, for example, if you do a pitch like that, it's not going to be 7.5. It might go to 9. I don't know.
Okay, well, Counselor DeAndrade, I'm going to be putting forward an amendment to the bylaw, and if you want to put forward an amendment to, all the power to you. So does anyone else have anything? Okay, so I do want to address a couple of the other comments that came up. I think we're going to, I mean, I think it's important that we address Bill 44 at some point. Might save that for the end here, but some of the details, there was a specific concern from Mr. Kearns about Kearns Plaza, and absolutely, any property owner there can apply for a variance still, could apply for rezoning, and just as we've considered a number of variances and a number of rezoning processes as this council in the last few years, very enthusiastically considered rezoning and variance processes in order to create housing. So any property owner there I think it'd be welcomed, and we could definitely look at that process. I think there was a concern about some legal concerns about the George and the time that it would take. I really don't. I don't think the OCP, passing the OCP and considering the OCP is a time to look at legal concerns about, like, that doesn't really play into this process. That's something that would need to be looked at separately when it comes to the timing of permits and the timing of extensions. And I mean, I appreciate that being brought up. It's not something we can really integrate into our bylaws. On that, Councillor DeAndrade? Sure, yeah.
Please, just a clarification on the building permit. Is the building permit only given once all the DPs, the environmental and the aquifer are, and also, I know this area, there's involvement with approvals from the Ministry of Forests, I believe, or Environment. Is the building permit only given when all this is sorted out?
Thank you, through the mayor. So the building permit would have to, yes, they'd have to get all the development permits first, but there's also a development agreement registered to title, and they have a list of requirements to meet as part of the development agreement as well, which includes like a bunch of things, like consolidating the lots, airspace parcel subdivision, that kind of thing. So there are a number of steps that have to be met before the building permit can be issued. But once the building permit is issued, they can build.
Councillor Lumley.
I don't, just one point towards that as well is like, I know that the permits ran out and I guess the agreements, with the development agreements, Mayor, I know the agreement before was, and for a long time, I know some people complained, but some people said it was good traffic calming, but that road, I remember part of the agreement was, I think the town's already paid to upgrade the pump down there. But there was a latecomer agreement that he was gonna pay for that, and there was also he was gonna look after the road and all that stuff. Does he have to renegotiate that stuff, or, just like, I don't know, I mean, because that was a pretty big expense, I know that, and I know that was part of it as well, so I can just only assume that would be part of the development agreement, is that right?
We may be getting too
diff-
deep into the weeds for our OCP, but I think at
That's
this
okay.
point,
No.
I don't think this is a question we're necessarily prepared to answer here, because it doesn't really apply to the OCP or the zoning bylaw. Just a couple other points that stood out to me that I took note of, that I wanted to respond to. Parkland, we've considerably reduced the density around Parkland since the beginning of this process. I think we've done it even twice in two different steps, and then there's the this SSA approach too for the land above Sunnycrest, which will then put it out to a democratic process and rezoning for future council and for public input to influence that. So I recognize it was the submission from Parkland at the end was quite similar to some of the other submissions we received earlier on, and actually really tried to respond to bring down height there. And also that goes for any housing agreement as well, is still going to be subject to council decision making, and there can be public input at that point to say that they'd be opposed to a medium density building becoming 4 stories, and that would still need to come to a public process and a vote. Colton, I see your hand up.
Yeah, that's correct, Mayor. I just wanted to offer the additional information. I believe that comment was connected to some concerns about the environmental status of the land, and I just wanted to offer reassurance that the development permit areas apply to significant portions of that site, and so that process also offers an opportunity to review whether or not it's appropriate to build there. So there's another check and balance built into the system behind that zoning.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And regarding some of the other submissions we received, I know we received an interesting one this morning from Peter Grant, whose home is in a really unique spot right beside the ravine. We take those, there's some interesting information just in concerns being brought up about people using the ravine and how we should have more information on just the environmental impacts of that through some signage, and that again doesn't apply to any amendment to the OCP or anything, but we appreciate that coming up in the process, and we'll look at those suggestions. I'd like to end off on talking about Bill 44 in general. I'm not quite ready to do that yet, but I just want to put it out to council if there are any other submissions that anyone wants to directly address that you have notes on or want to respond to, or ones that I've missed. Councillor Kroll?
Thank you, Mayor White. I think it's just a general comment with respect to lanes, and we encounter it quite frequently, is people refer to this tiny, narrow little lane. What they neglect to consider is the allowance for that lane. And in a lot of areas, the properties adjacent to the lanes have sort of encroached on them. And I'm quite sure the Director of Infrastructure would probably confirm that what people see as this narrow little tiny lane that only one car can get down, it's actually much wider. And we just had an incident with the property at 504 Gower Point, where they applied for a rezoning to build townhomes, but a condition of that was that they relinquish back to the town what is actually our lane allowance. So taking that into consideration in a lot of the areas where people are concerned thinking, oh, I can build something or something might be built, if you took into consideration a resurvey and where the lane is, a lot of these places would be not able to build.
Yeah.
So
That's very
it's
true,
just
yeah,
something
yeah.
that sort of gets lost, but it's a very real factor.
Yeah,
And the lanes are important from a point of view of emergencies and fire protection and things like that. So it's something that I know planning is very aware of and infrastructure is aware of, but the general public seem to sort of forget about it.
yeah, well, they don't realize it. Sometimes it's something I dug into in the previous days too, and I just also want to acknowledge, because I was singled out for going to Heritage Hills, that everybody on council really dug into these issues and looked closely at things, and I know others visited sites, including Heritage Hills as well. So I think everybody on council was doing that work and responding to public concerns. Are there other, Councillor DeAndrade?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, I would like to propose something, but because I'm not a planner, I don't want to propose something that could have a negative impact. So I would appreciate if I have feedback, and I think Colton was going to mention something, but I understand for our climate here, for example, a 612 roof pitch, it's favorable. Maybe a little bit more, but I understand that as we allow more pitches, and perhaps with the current constructions, people would never do this, but I was just wondering if part of the bylaw, of the sub-area could limit, and then we would avoid these pitches that block views without without
And this is
unnecessary.
something, this concern about roof pitches is specific to Heritage Hills?
Ideally, any view protection would have impact.
Well, I feel
but
like it
don't
should have been
wanna-
brought up a lot earlier in the process.
Well, I'm not a planner, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Well,
I only see,
You can ask questions 2 months ago.
well, but it didn't occur to me until recently that I understood that. And
Well,
I know other councilors had the same, so that's why we rely on the planning department. I'm not a planner, so I flag many things, but,
yeah, but we're at third reading of the bylaw.
okay, perhaps we do
I
an amendment.
mean, we can look at amendment, we've got another, not a full year of our term left, but I mean, it's something that we can certainly look into, but this comes as a surprise to me. I didn't hear it come up in public input. This is the first I've heard of this, and like you say, we need input from planning department and we can't do it at this point. I think maybe it would have to restart another process. And we can always, I mean, if it's a amendment to the zoning bylaw, we can still do that. We've done other amendments to the zoning bylaw this term. That's been done.
Oh, okay.
So
I think it's
I
just
mean, I
good,
think it's maybe something to look at in the future.
because I understand the priority for Lower Gibsons.
You have a solution. Planning's got a solution.
Oh,
I don't have a solution, but I can give some context to, I think, historically, we've measured height for all, for most zones, to the midpoint of a roof between the pitch and the eaves. And part of the purpose of that is to encourage the pitched roof form, which has always been considered part of Gibson's desired forming character. And so it does allow potentially more height, but it also encourages that higher portion of a building to be reduced and contributes to character.
Yeah, and I would second what Kristen just said there, because the flat roofs are very much limited to the height, whereas a pitched roof being measured to the midpoint does provide them an incentive to go with a pitched roof, which is more in tune with Heritage Hill.
Mayor?
Point of order? Or,
Oh, geez.
I saw Councillor Kroll's hand
Okay.
up first. Yeah.
You know, I don't know, I got into like math like young, and if you're concerned about, if you set the height at 4.5, but you're concerned about a high pitch, then you're dealing with a smaller building. So you're actually like increasing the view because you can't build a high pitch on a large, like a building that you could build on there. Like if you did, I just did a simple drawing. Like if your building's like this and your mid pitch is here, that's 4.5, you can't go up there because then you won't comply with 4.5. But then if you wanted it, for some reason, you want some super high pitch on your building, then the building would have to be minuscule because it would, that's the only way you could. So the 4.5, actually, it does, what Colton was saying, it encourages a bit of pitch, but there's no way you could have high pitches on a 4.5. And bringing it back to 4.5 kind of accomplishes the whole thing, that what you're talking about. Anyway.
I was concerned more with the principal building, just to be clear.
Were there any submissions that I missed addressing, or, I mean, so many of them were common to Heritage Hills view concerns that I think that, you know, looking at this amendment to bring it back to what we originally had, Councillor Lumley should address those.
Yeah, the same thing which you've already discussed, which was, hey, if you want to create a higher height, apply for a height variance. Just in each one of these areas, I'm just going through it and being through it all the time. And I know like there's a past council where they said, hey, listen, like I love spot zoning and I love having OCP amendments weekly, but
Can we quote you on that, or can we pull that out of context? That'll make the paper.
And you know what, in the vein that you spoke of the last meeting, it like completely mirroring the OCP it shouldn't be done, but the fact that if the OCP, like the study areas, I really like that, but if say somebody wants to apply for height variance, it would be nice to know that they wouldn't have to apply for like an OCP amendment, like if it's that drastic of a change, for sure. But if somebody wants like to add like 10 feet or something to accomplish something in their building, hopefully they don't have to, that's my only concern with some of these other zoning concerns, is that please tell me that every time somebody wants a height variance, they don't need an OCP. So and I think the OCP right now is kind of in favor of that. So I'm hoping that accomplishes it. So, but you kind of had the same things from the public hearing as I did, so.
Did you have something, Councillor Kroll?
Thank you, Mayor White. To Councillor Andretti's comment about roof pitches, and I know it was an issue that was raised by Mrs. Bonkoff with her roof, that she didn't realize the impact it was going to have doing a 12-12 roof pitch in that area. But, and I thought Kirsten was going to address it when she started to say form and character, because a lot of times, you know, if this, I know Heritage Hills, they love pitched roofs and gables and dormers and all that fun stuff that gives character to a building. But it also falls into the form and character category where there is the opportunity for saying nay or yay. So there is some control on it. People aren't just going to go nuts. And, you know, I was going to also address Councillor Lumley's point. The larger your footprint of the building, the roof becomes ridiculous if it's a steep pitched roof. So, you know, I think it's in hand.
Are we still going to go on about roofs?
No, I want a clarification, because what Councillor Crowe said about form and character, but
Yeah,
not for single homes, right? Single homes don't come to council for form and character.
No.
Exactly, okay.
Let's go. So we're talking about things that didn't even come up in the submissions. Like I think it's really important that I appreciate that individual councillors have concerns still that we want to hash out, but we're in a public hearing. We just finished a public hearing, and I want to make sure we address some of the concerns that were brought up from the public. I can, if council doesn't have any more of those, I can address Bill 44, but go ahead, Councillor DeAndrade.
Thank you. I think this regards the jump from RM1 to RM3. And so RM1, it's 50 maximum density, but then it jumps to RM3 to 100. And why do we need to go like double? Because it's still medium. So why, I just couldn't understand the maximum density from,
They are different zones, so.
no, I know, but why double? Why it doesn't go to 75? Because it's still medium, right? And I think, I don't know, and then in RM3, it can
like-
go to 149. So suddenly, it seems to me the RM3 is almost a high density zone.
Okay,
And I think that, that address, well, that's part of the concern that one of the residents raised on Park Road, because you have these buildings that are lower density and you have the park, and suddenly you would have a medium density, which is 100, but it could go to 150 units per hectare, which is more
feel
than
like-
double.
a lot of the work we did on medium density was to meet your interest in having 3-story townhouses.
I know, but it was changed last time. I appreciated the townhouses, the RM1, but the RM3, it's a big jump, and it can go to 150, so it
With the
can
housing
triple.
agreement.
I know, but still.
Well,
that-
as I said earlier, with the housing agreement, this goes back to council. We have to, there's a public process.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I mean, the default for that is 3 stories. It's not, the default is not a larger number.
Yeah, but I'm talking about density, right? So you have medium with 50, and the next medium, it's still medium, but it goes to 100. Why couldn't go 75? And then with, so that's my concern, it's a big jump.
Okay. Anyone else? So speaking of density, I'm going to talk about Bill 44 because it was brought up a bit today. Interesting that, like, there's been a lot of transparency about Bill 44 throughout this process for 2 years, really going back to the Residents' Assembly and talking about the impacts on it. And all of the, I mean, I guess it's unfortunate that I think because of particularly the Metro Vancouver mayors have been raising a lot of valid public information about it. I think some people have only understood now that it is an increase of density in our neighborhoods, and really it was 2023, I think this legislation was passed. And when that happened, there was not a lot of public opposition to it. Watching it closely, I only saw a lot of public support for the idea of housing at the time and the opportunities to increase housing. And especially for municipalities, there were a handful of municipalities at that time that really expressed public concerns about it. And it seems like a lot of the ones who are still expressing public concerns, they've actually already passed Bill 44. They've done it a year ago, like some of these municipalities. So I can understand we're all concerned about our neighborhoods and the density, but there isn't really an opportunity to, at this stage, so long after that legislation was passed by the provincial government, to say we're not going to do it. And that also, like, it's just, and no one's doing that. I mean, West Vancouver might be doing that, and they're going to face consequences if they do carry that out. They've already got a public advisor appointed by the province in their planning department, apparently, to make sure that they follow through with Bill 44. We don't really want that. We don't need it. I think it's also important to recognize that the town of Gibsons has had a history in supporting gentle density. I remember when I first moved here secondary suites had just been legalized, and some municipalities, believe it or not, have still not even done that. Hence, hence why the province needed to felt they needed to intervene. And then the Garden Suite program, of course, came along and was innovative by an innovation by the town of Gibsons that, to promote gentle density in our single-family zones. Garden Suites, I want to touch on that though too, because I also think it's an example of how slow growth actually is and how slow some of this gentle density actually takes place in our town. It's not, I recognize a lot of people that came forward today are concerned that overnight there's suddenly going to be fourplexes all over the place, and there's just no way that's not going to happen. I mean, you just look around. Like, people have been able to build garden suites for how many years now? 10? 10 and 14, right? Is it 13 or 14 have been built? 13 have been built in 10 years. So, yeah. So growth happens really slow in Gibsons. And an OCP is not saying this is how much we're going to grow. It's regulating that growth for certain properties that are going to develop over time. And we can look back over the last 10 years or decades that people have lived here and see that growth is actually really slow. That Bill 44 nor this OCP is going to change the rate of growth in Gibsons. There's way bigger factors that do that. And in fact, growth in Canada and BC is at a reduction right now. Growth in Gibsons over the last census, I think, was averaged out to 0.75 or 0.8% a year. So although we're trying to build housing, we're trying to build affordable housing, especially here, where we don't project the kind of growth that people are expressing in some of the fears today. And I don't see any kind of radical changes coming forward anytime soon in neighborhoods like Heritage Hills or anywhere else. On that kind of 5,000 population loophole proposal, we're already at 5,000. We know that. I mean, it's the BC Stats says that, and we've seen enough growth over the last couple of years to be sure that when the next census comes forward, we're going to be at 5,000. That's why we've been preparing for policing. And it would be totally irresponsible and to be so inefficient to go like, okay, let's plan for 2 OCP processes within a year. And it would wear out everybody, including all the members of the public who came in to speak today. We need to do this once, and we need to do it knowing that we're already at 5,000. And yeah, kind of trying to be sneaky about it is it's an option, but it's not one. I mean, it's putting everybody through this twice, and would cost significantly. That people would have to pay for with their taxes. And yeah, regarding this whole idea that was brought forward about an election should take place over this. Well, an election did take place over this. This is provincial legislation. Bill 44 is provincial legislation, and a provincial election has happened since then, and the same government was elected, and including in this area, the NDP was elected quite strongly in the Gibsons area by probably a lot of these people who came up and spoke and said they're against Bill 44. I mean, I'm not assuming how they voted, but just knowing that the majority in Gibsons voted for the party that brought forward Bill 44. I'm sure a lot of people who spoke against it today actually supported it then. So. That it is what it is, but that said, we do support housing in Gibsons, and we feel like the gentle kind of density approach that will be pursued here is something that can be brought forward and not have a severe impact on our neighborhoods and actually help people live here. And I hear it every day. We heard it last night about healthcare costs at our healthcare programs and the need for them, and the fact that our hospitals are overflowing. Well, a big reason for that is we don't have housing for workers here. And I know this council knows that and has really put forward that in our strategic plan. So those are some of the comments I wanted to make on Bill 44, just because that came up prominently today. And of course, a lot of the higher density, medium density zoning and in Upper Gibsons are ways that we want to address the housing challenges too. It just didn't come up so much today with the public hearing. Going to the bylaws, I just need the right piece of paper. There's so many today. Let's first look at the official community plan bylaw. And that recommendation is that the official community plan bylaw number 1339, 2025 be given third reading and adopted. And we can add, with the amendment of the notice of motion that has already been brought forward, that the words "through a future OCP amendment" be removed from both the special study areas in Table 1, OCP land use designations. And there are a couple more. I think the piece about the Heritage Hills, this is a zoning bylaw issue, to wait for the next motion. And yeah, sorry, this is complicated. There's so much paper, but there was also, the other one's for the zoning bylaw too, right? No, this is the OCP?
Right, the one for 670 Bay Road, I think, that is in an incorrect development permit area,
Yeah.
so that would be for the OCP.
Okay, yeah, and so the second one I found it is that 670 Bay Road be removed from the Gibsons Landing form and character DPA on map C4. So I think those are the only amendments we need to the OCP, is that right? Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Lumley. Any discussion on that motion for third reading and adoption with those amendments? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion carries. Now going to zoning bylaw, 10.2, zoning bylaw number 1342, 2025. And that is that zoning bylaw number 1342, 2025 be given third reading. The reason we're only doing third reading is it still needs to go to Ministry of Transportation and then come back for adoption later. So we can't do adoption now. And that be amended, though that's just an explanation, with the amendment that a new view protection sub-area for Heritage Hills be created, limiting the building height to 4.5 meters within the rear 7.5 meter setback. The boundary for the Heritage Hill view protection area includes low-density residential zone properties east of Gibsons Way, north of Jacks Lane, up to the unnamed right-of-way parallel to Gibsons Creek, and west of Marine Drive. So that would be with that additional amendment to the zoning bylaw. I just want to make sure that's good with the planning department. And there's nothing else that needs to come up. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion? Councillor DeAndrade?
A question. I would like to propose also another amendment. Do we wait for that? Or you are voting on the whole zoning? I just want to touch upon, because I still have questions about this RM3 zone that were not.
Okay, you can, so that's been moved. You can put forward another amendment, and we can vote on that amendment right now. separately.
But
So
what
then-
moved was not in regards to that.
No, it wasn't. We've got it. So what was moved was a zoning bylaw plus that additional language about a view protection zone. So that's what's on the table. You can put forward a motion to amend this, which, and after that, I don't think there's no.
Okay, amend
This
the
is what you
zoning bylaw, not the sub-area. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is your
okay.
time.
Okay, yeah. As I look, the medium density, 1, it's, the height is 10 meters. The density is 50.
Put forward your amendment first, so then we can discuss it.
That RM3, medium density residential upper Gibsons, the maximum density is 75, and the maximum density may be increased to 100 per hectare. So that will be my amendment. So it's just changing the numbers, because what I see, Mayor, is the first medium density has a height of 10 meters, 75, and it can go, 50 units per hectare, and it can go to 75, but the height would increase to 60 meters.
Procedurally, is this something only for the zoning bylaw, or would this have to have been done in the OCP as well? We didn't see this coming again, so I mean, this is really challenging.
It sounds like you're talking about the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
But I don't know what, and the densities are set in the OCP and the zones. And the way we've placed the zones is they're placed under the appropriate land use designation in the OCP. So we're following the OCP density. So I'm not sure what you're asking or how we would apply it yet.
Yeah, in this case will be problematic because we passed the
Yeah, the OCP's been passed.
But my concern is it doesn't make sense because the RM3, it's 15 meters. It starts at 100 units per hectare, and it can increase to 150 with the same 15 meters, which is great for height. But so what we are saying is a medium density can become a high density with an agreement. And I don't think that's what it should be anyways. I think this medium density, I didn't, when we approved last time, I didn't see this coming, and maybe I missed this in this, but it doesn't make sense. So now,
4 stories.
15 meters here, maximum height, 15.
15.
Yeah, 4, but it can go to 150, which is the density for high density. High density starts at 150. So we are saying this is medium density, but it can go to high density.
So the RM3 zone does not go into high density because the maximum density that would be increased with a housing agreement would be 149 dwelling units. So that's below the threshold. The high density threshold is 150 and up. This goes up to the higher end of, or the highest point of the medium density, but that would be subject to a housing agreement. So that is intentional.
With the same height. So that means a same height. So either you can have 100 or you can have 150 with the same footprint, the same height.
Yes, with the same lot coverage and the setbacks and the height, but you can put more units in with a housing agreement.
Colton?
Yeah, if it's helpful, I would just share this screen that was part of the presentation tonight. So with the densities, we've taken an iterative approach of going up by 25 per zone for the base density. An RM3 zone is meant for apartments, and there was concern in past council discussions about this height being any higher than 15. The reason this density goes up to this number is because if there's an affordable housing agreement, often those units tend to be a bit smaller. So it's sort of an intentional design process that we've walked through with council in past meetings.
And if they're not smaller, they're not going to be as affordable.
Okay.
So we don't need to put forward that amendment?
No.
Okay. So we have that motion moved and seconded for the zoning bylaw, third reading with the addition about Heritage Hills view protection. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor? The motion carries. And our next regular meeting of council is on Tuesday, January 20th at 3:30 PM. And are we okay for those, did we check those signing authorities?
We did,
Yeah.
Manny had it exactly correct.
Okay, it's any, okay, so we don't need to, special emergency last motion here. Great. Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Counselor Thompson, seconded by Counselor Lumley. All those in favor? Motion carries. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Colton, if you're still here.